Alright, so we are going to be making a statement piece, and I want to make sure that you remember the elements and principles of art, of design, before we start working on this. So remember, we have line, shape, form, value, texture, space, and then we have pattern, rhythm, movement, balance, unity, variety, scale, proportion, and harmony. We also have color too, so I neglected to put color in until a little bit later. So color is another one, and it's pretty important too. So remember, line, you can make it curved, zigzagged, you can kind of make it segmented. You can thicken a line and make it texture. Remember, there's organic and geometric shapes. Form has height, width, and depth, and when you are using value, you can use color with value. So it could be the lightness or darkness of a color. Texture is the way that the surface feels. Space, it has to do with the space between the objects. So you can do like positive and negative space, which positive would be the object taking space. Remember color, we already gone over color. Pattern, so pattern is just a repetition of an element of design. Rhythm, you can create rhythm with line. Balance would be something that's symmetrical or asymmetrical but still balanced. Unity would be the composition and it looks complete. And then scale and proportion, I just want to make sure that's the proportion of maybe a face or the way an object actually looks. So here I am using the rule of thirds, and I want to make sure that you remember the rule of thirds too. So with the rule of thirds, you have to do 2 lines going vertical and horizontal, and then you see that I'm checking off the things that I'm using in my piece. So I want to make sure that you're aware that we're using the elements and principles of design as we go forward. Now for this next thing that I'm doing, I am coming up with my thumbnails for my composition, and I'm starting first by drawing just the rule of thirds. I have 2 horizontal compositions and 1 vertical composition. Now with this statement, you are trying to say something to the viewer visually. Now with the visual statement that you're putting, think about the objects that you're going to have to be using. Is it going to be a portrait? Is it going to be a zoomed in portrait of just the eye? Is it going to be the entire body? So think about that. And then when you come up with that, if we are distance learning, I'm going to be sending you just a quick little tutorial on how to do something. So whether it be like drawing the human eye or drawing the human face or proportion of the face, I am going to help you with that, or the proportion of the human body as well. So I just want to make sure that I give you all the information you need to be successful with your project. So it's going to be very individualized, and some of you are going to get the same tutorial depending on what you select. Now you can do a portrait, you can do a landscape, or you could do a still life. Also there's the option of abstract art. So if you want to do something abstract, you can. But it does have to have some sort of statement visually indicated with your piece. So here we go. I drew a very quick landscape, and now I'm doing a still life. In the still life, I'm drawing a donut and an apple. And I'm drawing some water in the front. So I'm using the rule of thirds to help me with the idea of what I'm going to be putting down. So your thumbnail could be as quick as this, but I still need a few things in it. So I'm going to go over that in a second, but I want to make sure that you have some symbolism, you know what you're going to be drawing, but you really have to think about your voice, your material, and the way that you're going to be using your entire composition for the piece. So you must have the rule of thirds, you must have elements and principles of design, and you must select a composition that explains your statement or story or something that you're trying to tell to the viewer visually. For your statement or your story piece, the objective is to create a single image artwork with your intention to provide insight to a story, thought, or something you would like the viewer to know more about or learn more. So brainstorm first. What is important to you? Why is it important? How can you portray this visually? So we're going to sketch that out first. You are going to have this on display at the Shasta County Arts Council Arts Alive Showcase. And this is going to be our format. We are going to look at some examples of artwork provided from another county. So these ones are elementary school, and then we get into junior high in a little bit. So as we progress, the statements become more and more involved, and the students put a little bit more, I'm not going to say more effort, but a little bit more skill into their work as they get older. So those are some things that I want you to look at. So for this piece, you must have the rule of thirds. You must visually tell some sort of story or statement. It needs to be fully colored, shaded, or painted. And it needs to be turned in through this kind of format. So you have to have your artwork and this information as well. So I would like you to, before you start, make sure that you have your thumbnail done. So you're going to create a simple sketch with the rule of thirds, write down what you want the viewer to know, write down what materials you're going to be using, and one goal you have for this assignment. And then after that, I'm going to provide you with any information that I feel like you need, and then we'll go from there and you can get started on your project.